Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head to Stockholm once again. We're going to go to the Stockholm area, Ekerö to be precise, to the northwest of the city, and we're going to revisit a brewery who you've seen me review a couple of things from now. So for this one we're going to return to the Nordic Kiwi Brewers and we're having a taste of their session IPA today. So this one is called the Trippie Hippie and it comes in at 4.7% ABV. So I enjoyed the last beer that I had from these guys. As I've told you on numerous occasions on the channel, I really enjoyed my time in New Zealand and particularly the beers there when I was out there. You know, some of the stuff they were producing down there was just, you know, it was top class. So it's really been cool to find these guys, two Kiwis in Sweden, who are brewing beers with the New Zealand hops. So really looking forward to having another beer from these guys, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Nordic Kiwi Brewers before. No doubt I will add some more to that in the near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beers based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Nordic Kiwi Brewers then before we taste the beer. So as I've told you before, Nordic Kiwi Brewers are based in Ekerö, and which is kind of to the northwest of Stockholm from what I remember, but they were founded by two New Zealanders, or two Kiwis, Craig Donovan and Karen Beattie, back in 2016. So apparently they began homebrewing because Swedish beer is so expensive, and they soon began buying hops from Nelson in New Zealand, which has been a hop growing region for around 150 years. One of the great things about New Zealand of course is that it's completely hop disease free. There's no natural competitors for hops down there. But they set up a commercial brewery in a room using equipment that they bought mainly from Blocket, which is the you know, the Swedish equivalent of like Gumtree or something like that. I think in New Zealand they use Gumtree as well. But Karen apparently met a Swedish lady in New Zealand, and the pair later moved to London together, and he spent some time working in the construction industry before they headed back to Sweden. Karen works full time at the brewery while Craig is part time, and he works for Ericsson as well. But as I say, the niche of this brewery is the fact that they brew with New Zealand hops, and it's a very, very unusual thing to find in Europe. A lot of breweries will use New Zealand hops, but to brew exclusively with them is pretty much unheard of, I think. There's probably some breweries will have like a New Zealand pale ale, but to do that as their only kind of thing is unique as far as I know. If you have got any other breweries in Europe that do that, do let me know. I'd love to try their beers at some point, because like I say, the Kiwi hops really are pretty special. They're really well known for having this lovely kind of fruity, juicy quality that's a little bit different from the American hops, of course. But yeah, really interesting brewery. I enjoyed the last two beers that I had from them, so looking forward to seeing how this one turns out. So yeah, that's all you really need to know about the brewery just now. If you want to learn a little bit more, check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and see all the different things that they're doing. But let's have a taste of this beer and see how we get on. So I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork of this one before we open it up. It is kind of psychedelic. I think that's a grapefruit or something like that that's on the back there. It looks like the inside of a grapefruit going by the colours. It could easily be another fruit that's very similar to it, but yeah, it does certainly remind me a little bit of a grapefruit. So the hops in this one incidentally are Nelson Sauvin, which of course a lot of brewers use, the famous green grapey one, and you've got Waimea in here as well, which from what I remember is a sort of orangey, tangerine-y kind of thing with a little bit of pine resin in it. So yeah, should be a really interesting beer, this one. 4.7% session IPA this. Doesn't say anything else on the can. In fact, it says here, our Trippie Hippie Flower Power Session IPA is a modern hazy ale brewed with elderflower. So there's a little bit of elderflower in this one. The kiwi hops complement the floral notes with tropical fruits and pine. Feel the vibe, get tripping with some flower power, baby. Chur. So there you can see There's Craig and Karen. I did like that on the last ones as well. They've got Craig and Karen on the label here as well, and it tells you a little bit about the Nordic Kiwi Brewers as well. And I do like the fact that they put some Maori artwork on these things as well. The Maori artwork is really nice. If you go to New Zealand and see all the Maori houses and things like that, it really is pretty impressive, some of the artwork that they've got. They were quite an advanced society, the Maoris, from what I understand. I'd love to go and do a one semester university course on the Maori history. I think that would be really nice. And when you open this beer up, actually, you really can smell some of these lovely fruity hops out of it. It's oranges straight away, and some of that grapey note is starting to come out of it now as well. But look at that. That looks lovely. Big head on this one, actually. It must have been in the can for a little bit, actually. But yeah, as you can see with this one, it's poured a really nice bright yellow colour there. If I put my fingers behind the glass, you can see it is pretty opaque. There's a solid 2.5 finger actually of a frothy, I would say cream coloured head, but you can see it's starting to get bumpy around the edges, so that's going to go down quite quickly. But one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and a few little ones heading up towards the bottom of that head there. But in terms of an IPA, it looks pretty much as you would expect. So let's take a closer look at the aroma then and just see how we get on with this one. Yeah, so when you take the aroma in a little bit more deeply, you can pick up a little bit of that elderflower, but straight away, the oranges really jump out at you. And yet, the Nelson Sauvin, that sort of distinctive green grapey note is coming out of it as well. The elderflower is really interesting because it gives it the impression of a little bit more kind of complexity. I've never heard of adding elderflower to a session IPA, if you like. But there are elderflower beers, and I will be honest and say elderflower is not something that I'm such a great fan of. But we'll go into this beer, as we always do, with an open mind and just kind of see how it turns out. In terms of the malt base of this one, you can pick up a nice little bit of a kind of bready, biscuity sort of thing. Definitely has a little bit of that. I don't know if there's a little bit of an oaty kind of note in there as well, but definitely a kind of white, wheaty, bready sort of thing. Maybe a little touch oaty, and some kind of biscuity sweetness. There's almost a little bit of a kind of bread and butter kind of thing going on with this one. In terms of the sort of the floral, grassy kind of things of the hops, this one to me, the aroma leans mainly towards being grassy. But these are, the Waimea and the Nelson Sauvin are both high alpha acid hops. If I remember rightly, Nelson Sauvin has 13 or 14% alpha acid, so it's a pretty strong one. And the Waimea as well, if it's got the big pine resiny notes in it, that will have a high alpha acid content as well. So this one, it should be kind of quite interesting actually. So take a little bit of time, as I always say, and enjoy the aroma of this one. But for me, the sort of floral, grassy side of the beer is leaning towards the grassy side of things rather than anything else. But that's normal for the New Zealand hops. They always smell a little bit more juicy, I've found, and then you get the bigger kind of bitterness from them in the actual flavour. But you do get a stronger or more pronounced juiciness as well. So yeah, take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma, and let's get stuck into this beer then. So this one is the Trippie Hippie from Nordic Kiwi Brewers in Ekerö, just outside of Stockholm in Sweden. So let's get stuck in. Slanja, skål. Yeah. That's pretty nice actually, I have to say. I quite like that. Yeah, I will say, like, straight away, you can tell this one isn't quite at its freshest, but you can tell as well, again, you know that this is a solid beer. It really is quite nice. I can only imagine what this one's like when it is properly fresh, because it's good as it is. I guess it's maybe around, it's probably around this kind of 6-7 week mark. It's probably somewhere around there, but it is good. Have a go at this beer if you get the chance. So right, malt base on this one It's quite interesting. So you can definitely feel it's got a little bit of a grainy quality to it, which is quite interesting. You can feel the sort of bready quality that kind of blankets the middle of your palate though. But as you go further into the aftertaste, you do start to get a little bit of a kind of grainy note coming out of this one, which is interesting. But yeah, you also get a good, as I say, white kind of bready note, maybe almost wheaty actually. Not getting the oatiness that I was kind of picking up in the aroma, but right in the centre of the palate there's a little bit of a biscuity kind of thing going on. There is a little bit of a biscuity sort of sweetness to this one. Yeah, I like how that malt base is going together. It's unusual how that it's got a slightly stronger graininess as you go further into the aftertaste, like I say, but you can pick up the elderflower qualities in the middle of your palate on this one. It's definitely got a little bit, the elderflower for me is kind of mixing in the middle of the palate, and maybe that's kind of mixing in with this sort of grainy flavour. Like I say, the elderflower, it's something that I've not been such a great fan of, but it comes across quite nicely in this one. It does take a little bit of getting used to, you know, if you're not such a fan of it right enough, but the way everything else is coming out in this beer is really nice, you know. In the back corners of the palate, we'll start with the hoppy side of things. Back corners of the palate, there's a little tiny touch of earthiness there, you'll always get that, but really not so pronounced in this one. As you come up the front sides of your palate, it's got a nice sort of spicy floral note in there, but there's a good bit of the dankness from the pine resins as well. You do get a nice big dank quality to the beer. Then round the very front curve of the palate, it's a little bit lighter and grassy, I would say. Then behind the front curve of the tongue, that's where you get that big oily bubble where the nice fruity juicy esters come out, and that of course is what the New Zealand hops are always famed for. So yeah, with this one, it's got, you know, it's got what you would expect. I'm finding that first off, it's the oranges that are coming out of this one, but it's maybe got a little bit of a kind of slightly juicier tangerine about it, this one, which is quite interesting. So the oranges are kind of forming the mainstay of the beer, but as you go further into the aftertaste, it sort of evolves a little bit, and you start to get the more grapey flavours from the Nelson Sauvin as well. And that's one of the things I would say about this beer. If you know the hops, it kind of gives you the flavours you would expect of these hops. So this is one of these beers I think that's quite simple in the idea, if you like, but it does what it does really quite well actually. The elderflower I think is coming out more and more as you go further into the flavour. I'm not sure that I'm a fan of that, to be honest. And that's just me. I mean, this is one of the things, I've just never liked elderflower, but the way that this beer goes, I don't know if it could convert me. I wouldn't say that about it. It's a nice beer. The way that if they could do this one without the elderflower for me, I think it would be, you know, really really nice. The elderflower I think is just not for me. But those of you who like elderflower beers, by all means, crack into this one. But if I exclude the elderflower flavour from this one, I think it's one of these session IPAs that would be really really solid. I like the way the pine resins come out in this one, and the orange, you know, just having oranges, tangerines, and a little bit of green grape. It's quite an unusual flavour combination when you consider what hops are commonly used, or what American hops are commonly used in a lot of these IPAs. So it's an interesting thing, and that's one of the great things about having hops from all over the place. You know, you've got Slovenia now that's doing these high alpha acids, Germany and Belgium are starting to get on it. You know, New Zealand, America, well established. Australia's kind of catching up to them a little bit as well. But yeah, it's a nice beer, this one. Have a go at it for yourself and see what you think. As I say though, for me personally, the elderflower thing, I'm not sure quite does it for me. But yeah, have a go at this for yourself and see what you think. In terms of the mouthfeel then, this one, kind of light bodied I would say. Nice bit of carbonation. It's got a little bit of crispness to it, which is nice. You could kind of see that from the way that the head came out. And as I say, this beer, it isn't in its prime, I think. That is one of the things to bear in mind with this particular review, but good. The carbonation was a little bit, it is a little bit active in this one. I think that might be just because it's been in the can for about 6 or 7 weeks. But in terms of the mouthfeel overall, I'd say it's quite a wet mouthfeel, this one. It is more of a wet mouthfeel. There's not so much in the way of an oily quality to the beer. In terms of bitterness, I would say this one's maybe around 40-ish. The way the pine raisins are coming out, I would say, yeah, around a sort of 40 IBU mark, I would think. The elderflower, I think, gives it a little bit of a spice to the, gives the malt base a little bit of a spice as well, but that, of course, doesn't really count as bitterness units. So yeah, I think 40-ish is probably about right in terms of the IBUs of this beer. And malt base, a little bit of sweetness from it, but I think it's kind of nullified by the elderflower. For me, the elderflower is given a little touch of an almost spicy note to the beer, but lovely juicy fruit quality, nice bit of hoppy bitterness, like I said. And overall, it's a nice beer. As I say though, I think the elderflower sort of thing isn't quite for me. If they could do a version of this without the elderflower, I'd probably, really enjoy it. I get that impression from this one. But overall, I'd say this is a beer that's quite simple in its concept, and it does what it wants to do quite well. But the elderflower thing, just not my scene, I guess you could say. But overall, a nice beer, and as I say, I've been impressed with all 3 of the beers I've tried from Nordic Kiwi Brewers. They're doing some good stuff up there, so if you get the chance to try some of these, I highly recommend that you do. But let's leave it at that just now for this review. So this one was the Trippie Hippie, the Session IPA with Waimea and Nelson Sauvin, and some elderflower added in from Nordic Kiwi Brewers in Ekerö, just outside of Stockholm. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Nordic Kiwi Brewers as well. Do let me know if there are any other brewers in New Zealand that are in Europe, of course, that are using specifically New Zealand hops. That would be a really quite thing. Check out my social media, and I will catch you guys very soon with another beer review. We'll see when we can return to Nordic Kiwi Brewers. They're always kind of experimenting a little bit, so I'm sure they will have some more beers for us to review at some point soon. But thanks again for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon. Skål!